Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mindset Monday. My name is Sally Garozzo, and this is the place to be to get inspiration and motivation on how to be happier and more fulfilled in your life. So today's session is called How to Make Old Habits Die Easy. And this is for you if you've got a habit or a behavior that really doesn't support your well-being or your growth. It's also for you if you think you are weak-willed because you've tried and failed so many times. And this is for you if you are ready for lasting change. So if you're with me, grab a notebook and pen and let's go. So I'm going to get straight to it. The mistakes that people make when they're trying to kick a habit is they try to do it through the use of the conscious mind, also known as effort and willpower. And this doesn't work in and of itself because only 5% of our drivers, our motivations and our processes come from the conscious mind. So that means that 95% of your drivers, your motivations and your processes are completely subconscious, okay? And the subconscious mind is emotionally driven, not logically driven. So your conscious mind is logically driven, but your subconscious mind is emotionally driven. So when it comes to changing a habit, you absolutely have to tap into the emotional mind and body, not the logical mind and body. When we tapped into the emotions, we are 1000% more motivated to kick a habit. It's not even an issue. We don't even want to do the thing that we've been doing over and over again that's not helped us. So logic will only take us so far. So just because you know you shouldn't bite your nails, just because you know you shouldn't tailgate other people when you're driving, just because you know that you shouldn't waste money on excessive shoes and handbags or whatever your poison is, doesn't seem to make a blind bit of difference in the heat of the moment, does it? Because our habits are emotional, so we have to access the emotional part of ourselves in order to transform. So here's what I want you to do. Over the next week or so, I want you to make note somewhere on your phone, in your journal, wherever, of some habits and behaviours that you've got that are less than supportive, and habits and behaviours that you've got that you would like to change. So it might be the obvious ones like eating too much in the evening, or finishing your plate even though you're not that hungry, or maybe you overbuy food, or maybe you underbuy food. Maybe it's excessive drinking, smoking, gambling, shopping, those kinds of things. But maybe it is more subtle things like tailgating or texting or too much time on social media. Maybe it's even subtler. Maybe it's things like giving your partner eye contact, or maybe it's like rushing around. Maybe you rush everywhere. Maybe you need to slow down more. Maybe it's things like not tidying up after yourself, or maybe your place or your flat has just become overwhelmed with stuff. Maybe you're not prioritizing. Maybe you're being serious all the time and you want to be a bit more playful. Or maybe you're joking all the time and you need to be a bit more serious. Maybe one of your habits and behaviors is is staying in your comfort zone. Maybe you're the kind of person that needs to get out of your comfort zone a bit more. Or maybe one of your habits is that you're hypercritical of other people or judgmental of other people. Or maybe you're critical of yourself. One of the same thing, actually. Maybe one of your habits, and this is a habit, is tensing, muscle tensing. And I know most of us think that we can't help it, but actually we can change it. Maybe one of your habits is overthinking, or maybe one of your habits is that you just don't think that you are enough on the inside. Pretty much most of us, to be honest, unless you've done a lot of work on yourself. So What is it that you do? What is it that you think or say that doesn't support you? And this might not be obvious straight away. So give yourself a week or so to really consider what it is that you want to change. So next, I want to tell you a little bit about the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is your automatic pilot. It's the part of you that beats your heart. It's the part of you that enables to walk down the street while you're talking to somebody else, or walk down the street while singing a song or whistling, or it's the part of you that just enables you to walk, basically. So it's the automatic part of you. It's the part of you that is sort of out of focus. While you're focusing on something else, it's the other part of you that is completely not aware, like out of focus. So, for example, while I was writing what I wanted to say, the conscious part of me was thinking about what I wanted to say, but the subconscious part of me was tapping the keys. Because, you know, typing is so familiar now, you do it automatically, right? So, interestingly, your subconscious mind has no concept of time. I'll give you a case in point here. So, it's been a whole year since my band, Blaker and the Bombshells, did a gig. And as soon as we got to our friend's house and started the rehearsal process, it felt like it was yesterday. Everything was in our nervous system, all the dance moves, all the vocal harmonies, but the feeling of being in her house felt like it was yesterday. And I bet some of you have had that feeling and that sensation as well. Like if you go on holiday and then go back to the same place, it's like, oh my God, it just feels like it was yesterday we were here. That's because your subconscious mind has got no concept of time. It thinks everything is happening right now. That's why creative people are always late. It's so interesting because they're so in the zone of what they're doing. They're in their subconscious mind. They're in their flow state. They lose track of time. And that's also why when you smell something familiar, like a particular perfume, or if you hear a song that reminds you of something, you can feel everything about that memory as if it's happening to you right now. You can feel the environment that you were in. You can remember the way you felt about the people that were surrounding you at the time, perhaps the school you went to, or the clothes that you wore, or what somebody said to you. And it translates as a feeling because the subconscious mind is totally linked to your feelings. And as we know, feelings are super, super powerful. So the subconscious mind is very, very efficient when it comes to accessing feelings and getting to, those automatic processes. Now, the conscious mind, on the other hand, is very different. It's very RAM heavy. So the conscious mind uses a lot of processing power, and it's a really inefficient way of trying to change things. It's a really brilliant way of doing your tax return, of having conversations with people, of creating something, typing something out, walking, reading, listening, studying, all of those things it's brilliant at. But if we're trying to change habits, not so useful. So when we do a lot of conscious processing, we actually get very tired very quickly. Our cognitive fuel runs out. So we have the most cognitive fuel in the morning, and then slowly throughout the day it starts to run out. Less so if you practice meditation, if you eat well, or if you practice hypnosis. So, as I said, tasks that require a lot of this cognitive fuel will be your administration, your accounting, reading, listening to a lecture, studying, writing, learning a new skill, okay? Maybe giving a lecture, giving a talk, maybe even speaking on the phone. So our world is very much geared up to be functioning from this conscious mind perspective. The conscious mind perspective is all about control, knowing, being aware of, and the part of us that loves to be aware all the time, loves to be in control. And the subconscious mind is the part of us that trusts, that can let go, that can go with the flow. So it's really about, using the right part of the mind for the task that you want to achieve. So let me tell you a little bit about brain waves. So your brain is actually an electrochemical organ, and it can actually generate about 10 watts of electrical power, and that's enough to light up a very dim light bulb. So it's amazing to think that we've got that floating around, that ability floating around in our heads there. So brain waves, I'm going to tell you about beta, alpha, theta and delta. So the beta brainwaves, and our beta brainwaves kick in around morning time, and our beta brainwaves wake us up along with cortisol and other things. So we have these beta brainwaves all through the day when we are awake. They are the fastest hertz, so they oscillate, they vibrate, they do their frequency thing at around 15 to 40 cycles per second, and it signifies a very highly engaged mind. Okay, so in conversation, so a debater, a teacher, a talk show host, those kinds of jobs will utilize the beta brainwaves. Then you've got the alpha brainwaves, which are a little bit slower. So they oscillate on a frequency of 4 to 14 cycles per second. And this is effortless alertness. So you listening to this might be in a state of alpha, effortless alertness. So when we reflect, when we consider, when we contemplate things, we are in alpha brainwaves. And it feels a lot less hard work than being in beta. Next level down from that, you've got theta waves, and the cycles per second there are they're slower, so 4 to 7 cycles per second. And this is a deeper daydreaming. This is when we're fully immersed in something creative, when we are resting, when just before sleep. It's considered to be that flow state. So whenever you're taking a shower, for example, your brain waves will slow down to theta because of the warm water, your muscles relax. That is why when you take a shower, you get lots and lots of ideas, because this is when you can start accessing your imagination, your feelings. This is hypnosis, okay? So that's why you have to be careful when you're watching TV. You feel relaxed, all of that stuff from the advertisers comes in, hits the brainwaves, and you start to sort of absorb the suggestions. So any physical task that requires no thought, like washing up, for example, that can slow the brainwaves down as well. And walking gets the mind into a nice theta state, and that is where your ideas can flow much more. And that is why it's the state that's just before sleep, and that's why it's like just before you go to sleep you have the most amazing idea you've never thought of in the world, and you have to get up and write it down. It's a bit inconvenient sometimes, but there you go. And then delta is deep sleep, and babies are in delta. So deep sleep is 1.5 to 4 hertz or cycles per second. So we don't have any awareness when we're in delta, but we do have awareness when we're in theta and alpha, and beta waves are pure awareness. Okay, so with this in mind, your mind is actually like a frequency detector rather than a storage device. So don't try to remember things. Don't try to see your mind as a filing cabinet with things stored in. But it's important to actually get onto the sort of vibe, if you like, of the thing that you want to remember, or the habit that you want to change, or the thing that you want to attract in. So try to access the feeling part first by using these different brainwave levels, and the rest will kind of follow. So for example, if you want to lose weight, you have to adopt the feeling of being, or the feeling of feeling lighter, the feeling of feeling in control of yourself, the feeling of loving yourself the way you would if you had that great body. Feel it first, and then the rest will follow, like the head of a snake. That's the bit that goes first, and then the habit and the behavior will follow. So, yes, the feeling sets you up and the behavior will automatically follow. Don't affect the behavior, affect the feeling. That will cause the behavior to change. So the mistakes that most people make when they're trying to change a habit is that they try to affect and manipulate the behavior by changing the behavior. This is why diets don't work, because they just address the symptom and not the cause. But if there's a feeling that's driving that behavior, if the feeling is still there, that behavior ain't going anywhere, okay? It's the feeling that feeds the behavior that drives the habit. So every habit of action is run by a habit of thought, which leads to a feeling. So your thoughts come first, which drives a feeling, which then drives a behavior. That's why it's so important to address the thoughts, which then lead to the feelings. So when we try to effort our habits away using willpower, using the conscious mind, we are working against the way the mind works naturally, which then creates more stress, more energetic resistance, more cognitive dissonance, which in turn then creates stasis, paralysis. You are not going anywhere from there. You might change a bit, but then you'll come back to that point. And that's where the frustration kicks in. That's where we get disheartened. That's where we get disillusioned, thinking that we're weak-willed, we're no good. Other people seem to be making changes, but we are not. Therefore, we must be the problem because nothing is working. And this kind of thinking creates more bad feeling, which fuels, the bad habit or behavior that you're trying to get rid of, okay? So therein lies the problem. It's this vicious circle, this downward spiral. But here's the truth. You have everything that you need inside of yourself to get yourself back into balance. Nature gives us everything that we need, right? And the single most fundamental way or thing that you can do to slow your brainwaves down, to get you into this alpha state or theta state, is breathing. Okay, I bet you're thinking, oh, what a letdown, breathing. Seriously, guys, breathing exercises. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 8. Do it continuously, or do it whenever you feel like you just want to slow those brain waves down a little bit, reduce your stress. Breathing is free. Breathing is always available, and nature doesn't make mistakes. Nature provides us with everything that we need. So you are not the problem. You are actually the solution, okay? But the problem is we like to kind of get involved. We like to overcomplicate things, and we like to feel like we're taking control, like we're doing something to help ourselves. We think it's got to be complicated. We think it's got to be, out there, the latest thing. But, the greatest technology we have is here and is here, in our body and our minds. So everything comes back into balance. Your mind and your body are so, so, so powerful. And when you understand this, and when you start to build a strong relationship with your subconscious mind and understand all of your past programming, understand where all your blocks have come from, you start to unlock the keys to living a much happier, much joyful life in every area of your life. So your relationships, your career, your finances, your health, your weight, everything restores back to the way nature intended it to be. So I'm going to do a little sidebar here. Now, most of my clients are between the ages of, I would say, 35 and 60. And here's why. So when you're in your 20s and your early 30s, your body can cope with stress hormones brilliantly. So much so that you don't even think about it. Okay, you don't even link what you're experiencing to stress half the time. You have much better coping skills. You're resilient, you brush things off, good night's sleep, it's all sorted the next day. And also as a result, you are much more able to use effort and will from the conscious mind to make these changes in your life, because you can cope with the stress that this actually brings. So it's just par for the course, you know. We're used to using willpower, we're used to kind of using grit and grr when we're younger. It works when we're younger, okay? But when we hit a certain age, the behaviors and processes that used to work for you no longer work for you, because your tolerance to stress diminishes as we get older. Okay, so as we get older, we are supposed to move into self-care mode. But often we don't do this because we're so programmed to operate from a place of controlling and using the conscious mind, using effort and using will. And it's tricky to then go and find a new normal where we're not using that. That's the habit, one of the habits that we need to change. And we can't change it by using more effort and more will. We need to slip into using something different, which is the subconscious mind, which is the slower pace, more inward seeking stuff. So just say another thing here. When we're younger, we might use alcohol, we might use food, we might use video games, we might use whatever to numb out. But when we get a bit older, when we hit a certain age, the body tells you, nope, can't do this anymore, so you need to do things differently. Okay, so what's the solution? Well, one way you can access the subconscious mind is, of course, through hypnotherapy. And as many of you know, I do hypnotherapy. That's why I'm speaking about it, because I really, really believe in it. I have changed so much through hypnotherapy. Ask any of my friends. I am unrecognizable from 2 years ago, seriously. So hypnotherapy actually came before talking therapy. And the name comes from the Greek god of sleep, Hypnos. And in the 1700s, there was the German doctor, Franz Mesmer, used to treat his patients with hypnotherapy. But even before then, the Egyptians were using it to cure all kinds of disease. So it's been around for a long time. It's been around before talking therapies. And hypnotherapy works because it accelerates this learning process. It gets you to this unconscious competence significantly faster than using willpower alone. Athletes know this. They've known this for ages. And it does this by slowing your brain waves down, getting you to relax, getting you to let go, which in some cases is counterintuitive. We think the harder we work, the harder we push, the quicker the results. Yes, we need to put the conscious work in, but we also need to, and I believe more so, need to access the subconscious mind, which then feeds into the conscious reprogramming. Yes, so I want to tell you about a specific type of hypnotherapy that I do called rapid transformational therapy, and I love it because it's a two-pronged approach. Okay, so it's part psychotherapy, so delving into the past, uncovering the root, but it's also part positive suggestion therapy, which is what most standard hypnotherapists do today. They mainly just do positive suggestion therapy, but unless you get to the root and pull the weed out from the root, doesn't matter how much positive suggestion therapy you do, that's just going to be sticking plaster. That weed, you know what weeds are like, they find their way out eventually somehow. So RTT, it's a very, very powerful process. It's an eyes closed process. It's done at the alpha theta brainwave level. So we are going deep, accessing those brainwaves, going deep into the emotional, deep into the imagination. And I love it. It's so innovative. It's taking the best of the best from everything and putting it into one therapy. And I am big on innovation. I love anything that's innovative. It's a big driver for me. Because it's rapid, and it rapidly transforms these old habits into new, supportive, healthy ones. And I just think, why wait? Honestly, why wait? Invest a little bit of money into yourself, getting the help that you need to transform yourself so that you can start to live a life that is more happier, is more joyful, is more easeful and in the flow. So you're not coming up against yourself all of the time and just staying stuck on your little stump on your post. So in order to make old habits die easy, you have to access the subconscious mind on the daily. And the great thing about RTT is that you get a recording from me, which is absolutely tailor-made to you and the complaint, the problem, the issue that you've come to the therapy session with. It's all tailored. So everything in that recording is tailored to what you need, what you require. You won't get it from a generic, off-the-shelf recording. And, you know, the mind loves repetition. So when you were a kid and you put your favourite song on repeat, that's how you learnt the words. And before you know it, you knew all of the words to Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice, or something, you know, really, really intricate and complicated. And if you tried to learn it consciously, there's no way you'd be able to get that as efficiently and as effectively as you do when you just put it on repeat and it's there in the background. It's going in subconsciously. That is what we give you in RTT. We give you a personalized recording that you listen to and you learn those statements just through osmosis. They filter down into your subconscious programming. They affect your behaviors, and before you know it, you are doing things differently and you don't even know that you're doing it differently. It's amazing. It's like waving a magic wand. So I just want to make sure I'm getting everything here. Yes, repetition. So if you can pinpoint something that you want to change, whether it's a habit or behavior or even a physical ailment, RTT can help you, providing that you are ready to take a closer look at those emotions. And processing some emotions, you know, it's not easy, it's not always pleasant, but it's a damn sight better than ending up with heart disease or stroke or some kind of autoimmune disease that's just going to take over your life. Don't let it get to that point where it hits the physical body. Nip it in the bud before then. What's worse, a little bit of emotional processing, or a life of being chained to these habits and behaviors that are so unsupportive? And this is the way the world is going. You know, doctors are really tapping into this idea. The healthcare system is tapping into this idea that we are in charge of our physical, mental and emotional destiny. There is so much that we can do to help ourselves just by utilizing some of these very, very natural concepts like the power of the subconscious mind, like the breath. And the great thing about working with me is that you don't just get the subconscious stuff, you also get the conscious stuff as well. So we do this phenomenal, brilliant RTT session done under hypnosis, but we also do coaching sessions as well. So you are getting the best of both worlds. I believe it's one of the most powerful ways of transforming yourself on the market today, using subconscious, feeding into the conscious habits. Sorry, feeding into the conscious reprogramming as well as the subconscious. I'm tying myself up in knots here, so I'm going to finish soon. Right, so if you are inspired, if you think, yep, that's the way I need to go now, I'm done with using effort, I'm done with using willpower, I want to go straight into the subconscious and get this done rapidly, then go visit my website, sallygarozzo.com. You can see my prices there. I'm not going to announce them here because they might change. Go and see my prices. Book yourself in for a phone consultation with me. We can get to the bottom of it all. We can find out really what's going on and tailor make you a session that will catapult you into the next phase of your life. So that's sallygarozzo.com. Or feel free to send me a direct message here on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you're watching this. Or my email is info@sallygarozzo.com. So that's it. I hope you've been inspired to find out more about the subconscious mind and how it can help you. So that is all from me today. I will see you next week. Have a great week. Bye.